Stuff. I think that's the best description you can say about all the things you accumulate in your lifetime, whether you lived in the same house for 28 years like we have, or if you're in your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, even if you live in an apartment, you just get stuff.
And we sometimes have a lot more stuff than we realize, and it can be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
So we decided to bring in Kim Stanley. She's a downsizing specialist, author, and coach. Thanks so much for being with us, Kim.
Thanks for having me.
You know, as Mike said, we tend to just, the longer we live, and especially the longer we live in one place, just start accumulating a lot of things. And especially when we think about our aging parents and all of the things that they have, and you just think, we just got to, can we start trying to pare through some of these things so that we don't end up with so much stuff if we do decide they want to move, or, we just want to, kind of start going through some of that stuff. Yeah, clean up, declutter a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the number one thing that I run across, and I ran across when I first started my real estate business, which is where this all began, was we're overwhelmed, we have too much stuff, and we don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest downsizing dilemma that everybody has. So I've spent the last 15 years helping people and figuring it out myself, how to make this much easier and much less stressful.
And I think that a lot of times that people think that, oh, we just need to do this when we're moving. But I would think that even as I'm looking around our house and thinking about this when we moved my mom, but also thinking about our house we've lived in a long time, probably need to be a lot easier if I started doing it a little bit at a time.
Absolutely. And we all have those places in our house where we go, I know I really need to declutter this space. I really need to go through stuff. And you open the door and you look at it and then you close the door again. Yeah, I have that. I have a closet that I've done that with for 3 or 4 years. So I can understand that. I think an easy thing to get over that part of it, where you're procrastinating, is to give yourself a reason, or if you're working with your parents, to give them a reason. Hey, mom and dad, I'm going to have a neighborhood garage sale, and I would really like to have some more stuff to put in it. Maybe this would be a great time to go through your garage, your guest bedroom, that extra closet that, we've been talking about going through and decluttering. Could we set a time in the next week, 2 week, whatever it is, to go through that so that I can have some more of your things to put in the garage sale and maybe get you a little bit of money for it?
Okay, that's
it's a good idea.
Something like that. You may be kind of making it up. I mean, you can have a garage sale, or you may be thinking, I'm going to make a Goodwill run, or whatever your donation center is. And I know you had a few things that you were thinking about getting rid of. Could we set a time to go through that? Because then I can take it all together. So just a little thing that's not threatening. Because if you say, mom and dad, you're not going to be wanting to live in this house forever. You're not going to be able to take care of this house after a while. And you're going to need to move to a senior community or a smaller home. So why don't we get started on that now? Well, what are they going to say?
No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, go away. Don't tell me what to do, Right. But so how you approach people, and even how you approach yourself, give yourself some sort of a reason and impetus. Sometimes it's, my gosh, I've got guests coming, and so I got to clear out that guest room, or whatever it is. Give yourself a thing, give yourself an accountability buddy, whatever it is, to follow up with you and make sure that you do this. And that's what we do when we work with our downsizing clients in my business. We hold them accountable. We give them, okay, let's just do a little bit here. We're going to start here. We're going to get this much done. And we're going to check back with you at this date and see how it's going.
When my mom and dad had a house in the country that they lived in for about the last 25 years before they sold it a couple of years ago. Before that, we lived in a house for about 25 years. Combine the two, the house that we lived in before, everything there was moved into a barn in the country. So when we were selling that house and trying to clean it up, we had all the stuff in the normal house. We had all the stuff in the barn. And we found that by cleaning it all up, just talking to my mom and my dad, and my mom has Alzheimer's, so it was a little bit tougher on her. But just bringing up memories and saying, "Oh, what about this painting that used to be on the wall in the den?" And
Where did that come from?
yeah,
What's the
we'd
story
hear all
behind
kinds
it?
of old stories from the
I
60s
know.
to the 70s, and it was great to hear those things.
Absolutely. And I always encourage people, take your recorder out.
Yeah.
You know, we all have smartphones, we have recorders on our phones, and record those stories. I helped a gal move. She was really into music, and she had a baby grand piano that she was going to have to get rid of. And the story behind that piano, that actually ended up in the book that I've got. I opened up my phone, and for half an hour she sat there and told the story about growing up and how her uncle, who was like a father to her, gave her this grand piano and helped her develop a love of music, and throughout the years how she shared it with all of these people, and she has an autistic granddaughter, and how she helped her overcome things by teaching her piano, her love of music. And this baby grand piano was the center of all of it. And in telling that story, I think it gave her a sense of peace and helped her let go of it, because where they were moving to, there was no way they could move forward with that.
Yeah.
Well, because I do think that, just like what you said, Mike, that so many of our things, it's not always the thing that we care so much about. It's the story or the memory that it brings. So are there ways, I love the idea of getting the recorder. Are there things that we could do? I don't know if it's taking a picture of things and then chronicling maybe what the memory is. You know, are there other things like that that we can do to help it make it easier for our parents to let go, especially if it's something that, you know, that maybe nobody else in the family would appreciate the same? Because
Right,
I feel like the younger generation from us, and this is, you know, a little bit of a stereotype, but most of them are very minimalist. They don't want all this stuff. They don't want, you know, I have three sets of sterling silver that were my, you know, from my mom and my grandmother and mine. And, you know, I've mentioned it to my daughter and she's like, I don't want that, you know? And so I think that, you know, so are there things that we could do to help kind of, you know, keep those memories alive, but not necessarily have to have the stuff?
Absolutely. I'm in the process of making a scrapbook for one of our clients that we're moving, because she is having a difficult time letting go of things. And she's got some beautiful collectible china and pieces like that. And so really capturing that, whether it's a lot of times, I think it's great. You know, I think we still have those digital frames, and you can take a bunch of pictures, put a memory card in there and turn it on, and they can be able to see in their new home, their smaller home, all of those pictures, whether they're the family pictures or pictures of collectibles. And then you keep 2 or 3 pieces of whatever that is. And what I want to go back and address one thing you said, Kim, because my immediate question when you said you had 3 sets was why.
Well, I know, because
I ask that all the time.
Right.
And it comes to the whole point, and I went through this myself with my mom. You feel guilty about going and selling it and getting rid of it. You know, if you're a good daughter, you feel guilty about that, or a good son, you feel guilty about it. And I just want to encourage people, don't feel guilty about it. Address it with your parents ahead of time. Don't just go, okay, you don't need 3 sets of this, I'm going to get rid of this.
Taking it to I'm just going to sell it, right?
Yeah. You don't want to trample all over their things. You want to honor that. And at the same time, do not take on your parents' stuff. I have seen people become hoarders because they moved 1 or 2 sets of parents' things into their home. They still had their adult children's things. And all of a sudden,
you have a house full of just stuff.
You have one little path you're going through, and they've become hoarders because they can't even clean the house. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to take on any guilt for letting go of things. But you just want to make sure that you're communicating with your parents and, you know, talking with them about it. And then if you have to take something into your home or into a storage unit for a while, just make sure you have a deadline and a timeline for getting rid of it.
Yeah, I think you do have to be careful with your parents, because you don't know what something might mean to them, or what they think means to them. As I mentioned, when we were cleaning out the barn and the house at my parents' place, we're going through the barn, which is stuff from our house from the 70s and 80s, and kind of dividing things out into, okay, let's throw this away, let's give this away. And a couple of times my mom, and yes, she has Alzheimer's, so that's part of the reason why it happened, but she would pick something up and just walk off with it. And a few months later, as we're cleaning out the real house, we find it in her closet. It's like, well, we don't need this. What are you doing? Anyway, you just have to be careful because you don't know what might mean a little bit extra to them before you go, oh yeah, let's throw that out.
Yeah, that's ugly or whatever, because it's just because it was made by you as a kid or whatever.
Yeah. So one of the things that we do with our clients when they say, oh no, I have to keep this, I have to keep this. Okay, well, tell me more. That's a great phrase to say. Tell me more. Tell me what is it about this that was so important to you? And then you ask more questions. Okay, well, let's talk about where will that go in your new place, and how often will you use it? I mean, but you start with tell me more, open-ended questions to help them talk, and a lot of times they will talk themselves out of it.
Yeah, that is a great question, because I think that so much of it is what are the ways that we can help it be a little easier for our parents. And this is a process that, especially if you start asking about everything, that we know we need to know it's going to take more time than we think. So start really planning ahead, even before they even are thinking of moving. I think this would be a great exercise.
Yeah, as long as you have a purpose for doing it that isn't you're going to have to make a move.
Right.
Unless they want to. If they want to, then they're great. You're all in.
Is there a better order to do things? In other words, do you walk around the house and just look for small things first and kind of build up, or do you go to a room and work on one room at a time? Is there?
I love that question. Yeah, that's a great question. That is one of the big downsizing dilemmas that I run into with people, where they've started the process and they get bogged down and they quit, and they have all these little projects that they've started in different areas of the house and nothing ever gets completed. So yes, absolutely, Mike, good idea. You want to start in one space, and you can do one of two things. You can either choose a space that you walk by and you see frequently and you're like, oh, this bugs me every time I look at it. Because if you work on that space and you start clearing it out and seeing improvements, it will motivate you to continue to go on. So that's one way. The other way is to pick a space that you can make the most progress on the fastest. So either one of those is great, but you want to stay with that. And if it's, for example, your office, you want to start at one side of the room and work your way around, and you're tagging things, you're picking up things once, you're making a decision. Does this go in the keep? What we use a color-coded system, so our green dots are, I'm going to keep this. Do I think it has value and I can sell it? Do I want to donate it, or is it just trash? Or gifting it. You want to set it aside to ask your family, would they like to have it?
Yeah, and the other thing my sister and I did, and Kim and her brother did also when they were cleaning out her mom's place, is you're also deciding, okay, eventually, not like it's anytime soon, hopefully, when someone passes away, but who gets what? Because it makes things a lot easier in the long run in so many ways.
Yeah, and it's great when you have family get-togethers. You can give them all stickers and tell them to put their initials on it and say, okay, we're going to play a game, and they all get a certain amount of stickers. And so you put the stickers on the thing that you want the most. And so if you wanted that antique Victrola, and your brother also wants that, see, you duke it out, see who puts the most stickers on, and you only have so many stickers. So you can make it a fun thing too, and do it ahead of time. So when you're not actually giving it to them, or people can gift it to them long before they move, and then they can enjoy it. Someone else can enjoy it.
Yeah. We've kind of joked about that in our family, like who gets the tea cart,
That's right. It's like a game of Monopoly.
And I think that sometimes too, having it can be difficult when it's just, my mom and me making a decision, because I might think, just again, you bring in personalities and family dynamics and all that. So sometimes is it helpful to bring in somebody that might be a little more objective?
Oh, absolutely. That's the business that we have. But even if you don't hire a professional downsizing specialist or organizer, if you have a good friend that can come and sit by your side and be that objective voice to bounce ideas off of, or somebody from your church or anything like that, I think it's much better to have somebody who's not related to you. Who doesn't have also the memories or the frustrations of clutter, always better to do that with an objective person.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So many great tips. Kim, thank you so much for all of your assistance today. And
Yeah, well,
great
thank
ideas
you
for
guys. What you're doing here is just absolutely wonderful. And I tell lots of people about your Facebook group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, some really good tips. I love the tell me more, because
Yeah.
I think that so much of what so many of the reasons we care about certain things are because of what it reminds us of,
Yeah.
or the memory that it brings up, not necessarily like that, oh, it's a crystal bowl. Okay, well, it's because so-and-so gave it to me. That's what makes it special. But is that, can I write it down? Can I do something else with it so that I don't necessarily need to keep all the crystal bowls, but I just I'll still remember that.
I love the idea of using your phone to record some of these memories. I know you've recorded a lot of stuff with your grandparents before they passed away. It's going to mean a lot to you someday. Hopefully a lot of things mean a lot to you right now. If you have any tips at all, any suggestions about topics we should discuss, let us know. Parenting Aging Parents.